welcome to RBA News Center. I am Tampa RBA, host of RBA News Center. I hope you guys have had a good day. It's been a long week for me trying to get this going, so let's get this show on the road. All right. Starting off with the national anthem. So please rise as we listen to the national anthem in 8-bit version. Now for Here We Go RBA.
Okay. The moment you've all been waiting for. Here we go. RBA. Here we go. RBA. Here we go. Here we go. RBA. Here we go. RBA's winning the International Retro Bowl. Here we go. Cheer the RBA, black and no red, with something the Discord is full of best friends. Here we go with Prez Texas leading a group. The RBA's gonna win that World Cup. Here we go. RBA. Here we go. Here we go. RBA. Here we go. RBA's winning that Retro Bowl. Here we go. We're gonna get 6 points from Dahl. Here we go. Throw it up. Okay, she'll catch them all. Here we go. At least my Bane has a job and can finally provide for his mom. Here we go. RBA. Here we go. Here we go. RBA. Here we go. RBA's winning the International Retro Bowl. Here we go. Everyone's playing on medium. Here we go. Which means we're gonna dominate them. Here we go. And if for some reason you need a field goal, you'll get 3 points off of Casper Wyans' toe. He's in the Hall of Fame. Here we go. RBA. Here we go. Here we go. RBA. Here we go. RBA's winning that Retro Bowl. Here we go. We got Ent, Rams, and Voodoo. Here we go. Also Toasters, Texas, and a Baloo. Here we go. Don't forget Pickles and Gibbons. The only thing you'll regret is not bringing the man with chicken. Here we go. RBA. Here we go. Here we go. RBA. Here we go. RBA's winning that Retro Bowl. Woo! Go team.
Alright. That's all for the Here We Go RBA. Great job to Red Comets. Sorry. Good job to Red Comets for singing that. Now on to our All Alliance Award, the thing you've all been waiting for the past week. I've been trying to do it, wanted to do it, just couldn't get to it. Finally got to it. Now we can get some great show. For our All Foundation, there's none this season. Just to let you know, I just reused this from the All Ultimate slide from last year. As you can see, I already made a mistake in the third line. Thank you, Plastic Sports, for sending in 4 players, and Delaware Midnight for sending a player in. 5 players was not enough to fill our 9-player roster for the All Foundation team, and we're looking for a sponsor for the Season 11 All Foundation team, even though it's only 1, and there's also 2 ends in season. Going on to the All Ultimate team, sponsored by the Aloof Balloons. Our second string linebacker from Bills Mafia, Vince Agnew, played 18 games, got 161 tackles, an interception, and a sack. Our first string linebacker from the Brooklyn Cotonics, is Blake Matthew, playing 18 games, getting 168 tackles, an interception, and a sack. Our defensive back from the Brooklyn Cotonics, Ollie Good, playing 175, getting 175 tackles, 2 interceptions in 19 games. Our defensive lineman from the PDX Pioneers, Blair Butler, playing 19 games, getting 217 tackles and 2 sacks. Our second string wide receiver from the Brooklyn Cotonics, Cedric Spain, receiving in 19 games, getting 479 receptions for a total of 3,455 yards and 29 touchdowns. Our first string wide receiver from Bills Mafia, Brashad Swoops, playing 18 games, getting 195 receptions for a total of 2,746 yards and 35 touchdowns. Our running back from the Brooklyn Cotonics, Jacob Edmonds, playing 19 games, rushing the ball 417 times for a total of 2,905 yards and 69 touchdowns. In his receiving game, he received the ball 13 times for a total of 94 yards and no touchdowns. And then the quarterback from the PDX Pioneers, Preston Bagley, attempting the ball 527 times for a total of 450 completions, which is an 85% completion rate, for a total of 6,837 yards and 87 touchdowns. Our Red Comet's best all ultimate is 4 players, is Brooklyn Cotonics. Our all champions team, sponsored by the Arizona Vipers. Our second string linebacker from the San Antonio Pilots, Antoine Key, playing 18 games, getting 207 tackles and 2 sacks. Our first string linebacker from the Utah Winter Storm, Taiwan Garcia, playing 18 games, getting 198 tackles and 2 interceptions. Our defensive back from the Bluffton Boilers, Weston Bardner, playing 19 games, getting 201 tackles and 4 interceptions. Our defensive lineman from the Utah Winter Storm, Matt Gervais, getting 237 tackles in 19 games. Our second string wide receiver from Texas Stars, Foster Quinn, playing in 19 games, getting 231 receptions for a total of 4,156 yards and 66 touchdowns. Our first string wide receiver from the San Antonio Pilots, Bradley Mills, playing 19 games, getting 289 receptions for a total of 5,183 yards and 56 touchdowns. Our tight end from the Utah Winter Storm, Leon Grigsby, receiving the ball 94 times for a total of 1,636 yards and 23 touchdowns. Then our running back from the Aloof Balloon, Dijon, but the second. In his rushing game, he rushed the ball just under 800 times with 799 attempts for a total of 5,854 yards and 79 touchdowns. It's probably why he doesn't get anywhere close to the top of the Champions League, but he likes running. Our quarterback from the Texas Stars, Clifton Glasgow, completing the ball 569 times with an 89 percentage rate for a total of 8,189 yards and 122 touchdowns. Our Red Comets' best all-champions with 3 players is the Utah Winter Storm. Congrats to him, he's a really good guy. Our Seattle Sockeyes all-premier team. First up with our linebacker from Tyrants, DK Smith, getting 223 tackles, 4 interceptions, and a sack. Our defensive back from the Scotty Booners, Brashad Verrett, playing 19 games, getting 230 tackles and 4 interceptions. Our second string defensive lineman from the Ultimate Toasters. I want some bread, or some toast, I should say, from an Ultimate Toaster, is Jeremy Mabin, getting 203 tackles and 2 sacks. That's some pretty good bread. Our first string defensive lineman from the Gaming Gamers is one of the best gamers, Dedrick Swoops, getting 207 tackles and 2 sacks. Another gamer from the Gaming Gamers, Yannick Wynn, playing 19 games and getting 91 tackles. Our wide receiver from the Marching Ants, Oaken Shield, playing 19 games, getting 289 tackles for a total of 4,670 yards and 104 touchdowns. Our tight end from the Red Comets, second time, Gene Connor, playing 19 games, getting 126 receptions and a total of 25 touchdowns and 2,015 yards. Our running back from the Scotty Booners, Cyrus Beasley, rushing the ball 68 times for a total of 365 yards and 50 touchdowns, and he received the ball 160 times for a total of 2,376 yards and 27 touchdowns. And as you guessed, the quarterback for the All-Premier team is Deshaun Dahl from the Chicago Rams, attempting 556 passes for a total completion of 516 for a total of 8,557 yards and 131 touchdowns. Our Red Comets' best All-Premier with 2 players each is the Gaming Gamers and the Scotty Booners. Next up is our awards. Our crowd favorite with 66.6% of the votes is the Devil's Rejects. Our most aligned spirit with 100% of the votes is the Texas Stars. Our best trash talk with 30% of the votes is the Chicago Rams. Our quickest submitter, this is based on the submissions from the All Alliance team submissions, is from the Winterfell Legionnaires. He submitted all of his players on July 5th at 21, which is 9:16 Eastern Daylight Time, not Eastern Standard. Eastern Standard would be 8:16. Our best conference with 8,489 regular season points is the East. Salute the troops. Mr. Miss Irrelevant with negative 164 points is the San Antonio Commanders, almost like Commandos. Our Rookie of the Year with 464 regular season points is one of the most underrated piece of silverware, the Plastic Sporks. Our regular season champions are the Roadrunners with 781 points in the Premier League, the Yaks for Life in the Champions League with 722 points, LA Twilight with 545 points in the Ultimate League, and Devil's Rejects with 531 points in the Foundation. This is all regular season points, guys. Now, what you've all been waiting for. The All Alliance team sponsored by the Chicago Rams. Our second team, All Alliance. Our second string linebacker from the Arizona Vipers in the Premier West is JT Lovato, playing 19 games, getting 198 tackles, an interception, and 4 sacks. Our first string linebacker from the Tyrants in the Premier West is Felix Basham, playing 19 games, getting 204 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 3 sacks. Our third string defensive back from the Gaming Gamers in the Premier West is Noah Jenkins, playing 19 games, getting 214 tackles and 4 interceptions. Our second string defensive back from the Las Vegas High Rollers in the Premier East is Rudy Kindred, playing 19 games, getting 235 tackles, 3 interceptions, and no sacks. Our first string defensive back from the Peshtigo Fire is in the Premier West is Austin Dieter. Sounds like he goes on diets a lot. Playing 19 games, getting 248 tackles and 3 interceptions. Our second string defensive lineman from the Ultimate Toasters in the Premier West is the Toast, Jeremy Mabin. Playing 19 games, getting 203 players toasted, and 2 sacks. Our first string defensive lineman from the Gaming Gamers is Dedrick Swoops, playing 18 games, getting 207 tackles and 2 sacks. Our offensive lineman from the Legionnaires in the Premier West is Zach Pierce, playing 19 games and tackling 80 players. Our second string wide receiver from the Chicago Rams in the Premier West is Cassius Adjai, playing 19 games, receiving the ball 197 times for a total of 4,547 yards and 68 touchdowns. Our first string wide receiver from the Tyrants in the Premier West is Tyler Speck, playing 19 games, receiving the ball 321 times for 80 touchdowns. Our third string tight end from Tampa in the Premier East is Nahi Balor, receiving the ball 75 times for a total of 1,219 yards and 13 touchdowns. Our second string tight end from the San Antonio Pilots in the Champions League is Captain Nigel Barr, playing 19 games for a total of 69 receptions for a total of 1,160 yards and a meager 15 touchdowns. Our first string tight end from the Scotty Boomers in the Premier West is Eric Forbes, playing 19 games for a total of 93 receptions for a total of 1,463 yards and the same amount of touchdowns as he played games. Our second string running back from the Scotty Booners in the Premier West is Booner Cyrus Beasley, attempting 68 rushes for a total of 365 yards and 15 touchdowns. In his receiving game, he caught the ball 160 times for a total of 2,376 yards and got the ball in the end zone 27 times. Our first string running back from the PA Liberty in the Champions League, Gabe Keksky, playing 19 games, rushing the ball 183 times for a total of 43 touchdowns and 10 yards. In his receiving game, he caught the ball 98 times for a total of 1,237 yards and only 10 touchdowns. Our second string quarterback from the PDX Pioneers in the Ultimate League is Preston Bagley, playing 19 games, completing 85% of his passes for a total of 6,837 yards and 87 touchdowns. Our first string quarterback from the Texas Stars in the Champions League is Clifton Glasgow, completing 89% of his passes for a total of 8,189 yards and 122 touchdowns. Next up is our first team, All Alliance. Starting off with our kicker from the Delaware Midnight in the Foundation League is Cosmo Kramer, playing a total of 19 games, completing all of his field goals, which was 24 for 724 yards with the longest of 55. Our second string linebacker from the Las Vegas High Rollers in the Premier East is the best ball in the league, Gus Cyprin. For a total of 19 games, 253 tackles, an interception, and 2 sacks. Our first string linebacker from Tyrants in the Premier West is DK Smith, playing a total of 19 games for 223 tackles, 4 interceptions, and a sack. Our second string defensive back from the Scotty Booners in the Premier West is Brashad Barrett, playing 19 games, getting 230 tackles and 4 interceptions. And I messed that up. Our first string defensive back is from the Texas Stars. I'll get that back to you after the stream. Our second string defensive lineman from the Utah Winter Storm in the Champions League is Mac Gervais, getting 237 tackles in 19 games. Our first string defensive lineman from the PDX Pioneers in the Ultimate League is Bear Butler, sacking the quarterback 2 times and tackling 217 players in 19 games. Our offensive lineman from the Gaming Gamers in the Premier West is Yannick Wynn, getting 91 tackles in 19 games. Our third string receiver from the KBH Shema Hafour in the Premier East is Cam Locke, playing 19 games, receiving the ball 531 times, getting 6,122 yards and 73 touchdowns. Our second string wide receiver from the Las Vegas High Rollers in the Premier East, Kamoko Ko, receiving the ball 302 times, getting 4,503 yards and 91 touchdowns in 19 games. Our first string wide receiver from the Marching Ants in the Premier West is Oaken Shield, getting massive stats in 19 games, receiving the ball 289 times for 4,670 yards and 104 touchdowns. Our second string tight end from the Utah Winter Storm in the Champions League is Leon Grigsby, receiving the ball 94 times for a total of 1,636 yards and 23 touchdowns. Our first string tight end from the Red Comets in the Premier East is Gene Connor, playing 19 games, getting 126 receptions for a total of 2,015 yards and 25 touchdowns. Our second string running back from the Brooklyn KO Tonics is Jacob Edmonds. Our first string running back from the Aloof Balloons in the Champions League is Dijon Butt II, getting massive rushing stats, attempting the ball 799 times for a total of 79 touchdowns. Our second string quarterback from the Gaming Gamers in the Premier West is Marshawn Perry. And I put the wrong thing up there. I'm sorry about that. Our first string quarterback from the Chicago Rams in the Premier West is Deshaun Dahl, completing 93% of his passes for a total of 8,557 yards and 131 touchdowns. Our New York Mighty Pickles best all alliance is the Gaming Gamers. Next up is our best player sponsored by the Alaskan Armor. Our foundation MVP is the Plastic Sporks, Gardner Olsen. Our ultimate MVP from the PDX Pioneers is Preston Bagley. Our champions MVP from the Las Vegas High Rollers, that is actually a Aloof Balloon, is Dijon Butt II, with his massive rushing stats. Our premier MVP is from the Marching Ants in the West, Oaken Shield. Our defensive player of the year from Gibbons in the Premier West is DK Smith, playing 19 games, getting 223 tackles, 4 interceptions, and a sack. Our offensive player of the year from the Chicago Rams in the Premier West is Deshaun Dahl, completing 90% of his passes for a total of 8,557 yards and 131 touchdowns. Our Deshaun Dahl Award goes to the Marching Ants in the Premier West, Oaken Shield, receiving the ball 289 times for a total of 4,670 yards and 104 touchdowns. Our shoutouts to the stats team, me, to the PowerPoint team, Tampa RBA, and to the presentation team, the Tampa team from the Retro Bowl Alliance, and Aloof Balloon, who sadly could not make it today, the council, and all of you watching. Thank you for watching. I'll stick around for a couple minutes if you guys have any questions, and I'll answer them now. Other than that, just if you have any questions, I would love to hear them. Thank you, Browns fans 612. Thank you. Tampa, and Tampa. Sorry for the few mistakes. I'll get those sorted out real quick if I can find everything. Thank you, Plastic Sporks. I'm not the best, but thank you. Yeah. I'm just trying to find the mistake real quick that I had. The two wide receivers for all champions, Foster Quinn for Texas Stars and Bradley Mills for the San Antonio Pilots. And then, what was the other one? I know there was another mistake. Oh, Brashad Barrett was the second string defensive back in the second team and came with the Scotty Booners, and Chuma Burfitt for Texas Stars in the Champions League. And yeah, thank you, Peshtigo Fire. I believe if there's no questions, I'll just wrap it up now.